Hi everyone, this is Elizabeth. For today's video, we are going to take a look at two men who were crowned with rather painful red-hot iron crowns. Scottish nobleman Walter Stewart was believed to have wanted the crown of King James I of Scotland for himself. But when he was found complicit in the king's murder in February 1437, he received something much worse. In March 1437, Walter Stewart was tortured for 3 days in a row. It was not your typical type of torture. His torture was made fairly public so that people would think twice before having a king murdered. On the first day of torture, Stewart was hoisted up into the air and dropped with a sudden jerk to stretch his joints. He was then placed in a pillory, and a red-hot iron crown, inscribed with King of all Traitors, was placed on his head. On the second day of torture, he was tied to a hurdle and dragged along the high street of Edinburgh. It was also believed that he was tortured with red-hot pincers and blinded. Finally, on the third day of torture, he was disemboweled and forced to watch his entrails be burnt. Yes, he was still alive for that part. His heart was then torn out and burnt, thus ending his life, but his punishment was not yet over. To further humiliate Stewart after death, he was beheaded and quartered. His various body parts were displayed throughout Scotland. 77 years later, another man was also given an iron crown of his own. I'm having a lot of problems pronouncing the name, so I'm going to put it down in the description. Oh dear. Okay, so it's sort of like György Dózsa. I know I'm not pronouncing it right, so if you could correct me, help me out. I listened to a few pronunciations of it, and I cannot get it right. For this video, I'm just going to call him Dózsa. So Dózsa led a peasant revolt in Hungary. He was captured in 1514 and met a most unfortunate end. He was bound to a smoldering iron throne, and a red-hot iron crown was placed on his head. While he was being roasted to death, 9 of his top men in the rebellion were brought to the scene. One of the men was his younger brother, who was cut into 3 for all to see. Next, chunks of Dózsa's flesh were ripped from his body with pincers and force-fed to the remaining starved men. A few of the men refused to eat the meat and were cut apart. However, the men who ate the flesh were released and allowed to leave. I know this was a short video, but there's more coming out with more death, dismemberment, burning, and all that fun stuff. So stay tuned and stay out of trouble.